Adolfi here. Welcome to the Lost World Museum Live. And we are doing a supplemental video on giant humans. Now, we just dropped a video yesterday on giant humans, and it's pretty well received. We're getting some questions, okay? And I want to show you a little bit more evidence beyond what we did there in the video, okay, in this live. I'm going to show you three resources, though, at some point. You're not going to want to miss that, because if this subject intrigues you, if you want to know more about giant animals, giant insects, giant fish, giant anything, including the evidences of giant humans, you're going to want to stick around. And if you don't, it's right there down in the description or in the little store there that's below the video. Okay, so what is this fascination with giant humans? Now, it seems that giant humans are within the collective psyche of people groups throughout the world. All right. And just to be fair, there are other things that seem to be in the collective psyche of people around the world as well, too. But I don't necessarily subscribe to them as well. Like, for instance, the little people, the leprechauns, the Native American little people. There's a whole subject there that I did some studying on, extensive amount of studying for a book that has not been released. And my conclusion, I'll just tell you right off the bat, my conclusion is that it's probably just plain spiritualism. I don't think that there's a thread of evidence, even though it is worldwide. This idea of 12 to 14 to 20 inch little people living in groups and tribes and thriving and surviving and interfacing and causing havoc in the Native American people groups. I mean, they talk about that. Native Americans also are huge believers in giants, not only as just a field of study or as a legend, but among their own people. And in the video that and I'll have that video link, by the way, either up here, down here, in a card, or down in the description. The Modoc tribe out west talks about the pre-flood people being 12 to 15 feet tall. And when the conquistadors came over here in the 1500s, down south in the Georgia, Florida area, they claim to have come across a number of giants, but one in particular that was 11 feet tall. And it was a strong giant. It was able to pull. They saw this strength demonstrated. And I don't think, forgive me, I've not read an extensive amount of information from the conquistadors themselves in Spanish or even in the English translation. But I don't know if they're given to exaggeration. You know what I mean? These guys are over there out of their element, chronicling these things. Are they going to sit down and they're going to start dreaming up fanciful things? I would think they would be just uncomfortable, just the way they're dressed, in the south part of the United States, let alone the Central America area. Then sitting there saying, well, let's take some literary license here and have some fun. I don't see that happening. But hey, anything's possible. But this giant was so strong, it was able to pull a 9-inch tree out of the ground. Now, if you know anything about trees, they're pretty robust, very strong. Now, supporting evidences, okay? I'm going to show you a few things we didn't show you in that video so that you can get a better feel for what we were saying in regards to the animal kingdom and also the insect kingdom and whatnot. So let's go ahead and start with the Gigantopithecus that I showed in there. And let me get my little platform here so you can see it better. This right here is a jaw to a normal sized full-grown ape, okay? And compared to me, about the same size, maybe a 5.5, 6 foot ape. Now, the Gigantopithecus was a large monkey in the fossil record. They don't really talk about Gigantopithecus a lot. I don't know if it's because they don't have many skeletons or remains of it, I mean, they can make a whole big ado about an entire species of humans with one tooth. They did that only to find out it was a pig tooth, but still, nevertheless, they made a lot of ado over one tooth. You would think that three mandibles and 1,000 teeth, oversized teeth, would be enough for them to really have a good time with this. But you know, the period of time where giantism, according to the evolution theory, thrived. Okay, maybe a million years ago, 2 million years ago, all the way up till 10,000 years ago. Um, their reasoning for the giantism is that dinosaurs died 66 million years ago. Therefore, the food supply was abundant. Therefore, things could grow larger. As opposed to the creationist viewpoint, is that is things were built larger to begin with. Not everything, but a lot of things. I'm going to show you a few of those things here. Oh, and that after the worldwide flood, and somebody had asked a question, why were giants big then and not now? Well, across the board, pretty much, giantism is not supported. It started to de-evolve. You know, the process of evolution within its own species is absolutely true, meaning that beaks can get longer and shorter depending on the environmental pressure. Absolutely. But a lizard arm with scales doesn't become a bird wing with feathers. That's where the science of evolution and creationism part. Okay. So the dumbing down in size, everything dumbed down in size for the most part. You'll see, and I'll show you examples of that. One is the great ape. It was 10 feet tall at one time, and here it is today. Pretty remarkable. But that's just one. How about this guy? That is a beaver. That's a beaver skull. And this grew to be anywhere between 5 to 8 feet, weigh anywhere between 300 to 450 pounds. They'll say this is a different species than the one today. Fine. But it's still a beaver. Look at the characteristic teeth. You can't deny that. This is a pre and possibly a post-flood beaver, meaning that beavers after the flood may have continued to be large and then everything dumbed down within a short period of time. We're talking hundreds of years, multiple generations. The environment no longer supported giantism. And we can go into that in another video. How about this one? We've seen, this is a claw from a sloth of today. Okay. Now look at the size. It's about 2 inches. This is the claw replica of a giant sloth. Little difference, isn't it? This sloth right here is about 3 feet. You've seen him before. This one you haven't seen before, but you may have seen descriptions of it or paintings of it or drawings of it. But we're talking from tail to snout, standing up, 20 feet. Did I say 20 feet? 20 feet. 20 feet tall. Again, the pre-flood world had giants. Plants, we show that in the video. Animals, we've shown a few here. What about insects? Okay. This right here may not look as super impressive, but just take a look at it. This right here is a replica of a pre-flood ant. It had 2.5-inch wings on each side. There were 4 of them. And he is about 2.4 inches long. Now, the largest ant today, I think, is 1.25 inches. So it's approximately twice as large, or at least twice as long. Take a good look at that. Okay, so that's one insect. You know, dragonflies have wingspans that are about that long. Okay, the bodies are about that big. You know, in their full how I'm going to get science on you, genetic expression. Okay, but in the pre-flood world, and here's a replica just to show you the idea of size. And there is a fossil in France that not talks, but shows just exactly the size of a ancient, or as I call it, a pre-flood uh, dragonfly. 26 inches from wingtip to wingtip. These were quite large. Could you imagine one of those running around? But look, if humans were more than twice as tall as we said in the video, then a dragonfly that big would seem, well, maybe not normal, but at least, you know, to our standards, not normal, but still, it's, you know, things are relative. Now, what about humans? Now, I've got some, you know, people say, oh, there's no evidence. There is a little bit of evidence out there. You got to go really looking for it. In these books, and let me share them with you. Valley of the Giants and Giant Man Tracks. It shows giant human footprints in the Paluxy River in Glen Rose, Texas. Now, this book is one of my favorites only because it really, and look at this now, and you can get these books, like I say, just right below in that little store area. And let me show you one. I got to show you one more. I got to show you one more because I just love, absolutely love this book. I'll show you one that's, and so, you know, they say that in the Paluxy River, these are dinosaur tracks, and these are large tracks. I don't know the exact size. Look at the left-right progression here. What the critics are saying, what looks like human footprints is really a dinosaur track that's eroded part of it away. So it makes it look like a dinosaur track. Okay. Or it's a giant human track. Now, how big are those footprints? Well, let me show you. This is Robert Wadlow's shoe size. He's the gentleman that was the tallest modern man in the world at 8'11", and he had a size 37 AA, I believe it is, shoe print, and 44 and a half. But it's about, the shoe itself is about 18 inches. His foot maybe have been about 17 inches. So a 9-foot man has about a 17-inch foot. You know, feet can vary, you know, in size. So it could be, you know, anything as far as, you know, the range of size of foot to the height of the individual can vary. Okay. So the footprints in the Paluxy, and again, in Valley of the Giants, it shows other footprints, but these footprints, and let me see if I show you a really good one. These human footprints are next to and in the same strata as dinosaur footprints. That's what makes them interesting. Here's one right here. And there's a ruler. Look how big the footprint is of the human. It is somewhere around 21 to 22 inches long. Now my foot is 11 and a half inches long. I wear a size 12. I'm 6'2". So if you took 11 inches and you doubled it, that would make that man approximately 12 feet tall. That's evidence right there. Again, not subject to criticism or, as some would say, debunking. Nothing is beyond reproach, friends. Nothing is. But I believe these things, even if 10% of them were the case, it at least starts to suggest things. Now, this is the book that you really, really want to get. We don't sell the paper version. We sell the digital version. That's all that's available to humankind, unfortunately. Joe, unfortunately, passed away earlier this year. But the book can be printed out. And I've had one client that purchased the book. Now, what's so great about the book? In the book, it talks about giant humans, giant plants, giant animals. It is the most comprehensive. Look at that bird. It is the most comprehensive book on giantism. if you like the Guinness Book of World Records and you like giantism in all its formats, this is the one. All right. So now, what about the conspiracy that they have giant stuff tucked away? Well, I don't sell this book, but this chronicles all the different articles in newspapers that this is more of a reference book than a fun, easy read. Okay, so and it talks about the giant human things that they have found in the burial mounds throughout the United States, and in the newspaper accounts where the Smithsonian swept in. They either gave them to them or they took whatever, not by force or anything, and they took these away, and they have never been seen since. You know, friends, there's two things the Smithsonian, which is an evolutionary based naturalistic, that's another word for it, naturalistic based philosophy behind the scenes. There's two things that the Smithsonian supposedly has pieces of or parts of or evidence of, photographic or fossil bones or bones, and that is giant humans and Noah's Ark. There's reported that they have some artifacts or they have photographs of Noah's Ark. They do not release those two things. Those two things alone have the potential to topple the evolutionary proposition. If Noah's Ark exists, then there was a worldwide flood. If there was a worldwide flood, then all these fossils that we see and all the strata that we see were laid down 4,400 years ago. And guess what? Moses, the former commander of the Egyptian army, his rendition of early Earth's history in the book of Genesis, those first 11 chapters, then is true. Okay, what else do we have? How about foot size? This is just for fun, okay? If there was a 12-foot woman, let's say Eve, okay, who was a little shorter than Adam, and we talk about the size of Adam in the video, again, that's linked in the description. This would be the size of Eve's shoe. That's right, approximately, like I said, 22 inches. She would have had a 22-inch foot. There you go. This would have been, we call this Eve's slipper. And what does a 12-foot human head look like? That's a great question. What does a human head look like? Let's show you what it would look like. And by the way, this is what we're looking for. You own a piece of land in Montana and you're finding something odd that looks like this, you need to contact us immediately, okay? And the Smithsonian, if you're listening out there, you really need to come clean and let us know what you have in your storeroom when it regards to this. Six-foot man, 12-foot man. 6 foot, 12 foot. All right, I hope you enjoyed this supplemental live. Check out that video in the description and the resources if this is your thing, okay? Feel free to, you know what, subscribe and hit the little bell at the very top that's when you really will get alerted when something happens. Subscribing and not doing that, it almost kind of takes away from the whole fun of being able to be communicated when something new happens on any channel, let alone ours. I'm John Adolfi with the Lost World Museum, where we ask the provocative, important question: where did we come from? Apes, aliens, or Adam? Did we come from giants? Yes, I believe we did. You guys have a wonderful day, evening, morning, and we'll see you next time.